How many times have you heard me say, we are in revolutionary times? For years, you've heard me iterate and reiterate. We are in revolutionary times. There is much that is confusing. You have many who would speak of the deep state while being a part of the deep state. You have many who would point out the matrix while actually being a part of the matrix. We are in truly confusing times. Some of you try to pick up the good book to understand what's going on, and you only find yourself even more confused. Ladies and saints, we're going to go through all of the footage that is relevant. If you have any videos or persons you'd like me to react to, you can send in the URL with an appropriate timestamp. You can send it using the information below. You have to forgive me for not being early on this. I was on a very long flight coming back to my home. As you know, I've been traveling for a few months in Europe. Now, let's go ahead and get into this work. And by the way, I hope that at least one of you, after getting this analysis, will be freed of some of the confusion that has been intentionally implanted into your mind. Yeah, some of you are confused, don't even know you're confused. But let's start at the beginning. You got a lot of you guys, your favorite YouTubers, they're just controlled opposition. That's all they are. Let's start this from the beginning. Oh, and by the way, when you listen to the experts, oh, this is a former federal such and such, or this is a retired CIA director, or this is a Secret Service advisor, or this is so and so. It seems as though once you get out of government, clandestine services, armed forces, seems as though going on media tours or becoming podcasters is kind of like the go-to thing. Shout out to, I think the gentleman's name is Andrew Bustamante. I exposed that fella on the Saint channel, not for the sake of exposing him. I'm not 1090 Jake. My channel is not about exposing people, but it's important to know that your government is not going to allow someone to leave with top secrets and then go on to the internet and spill all of the beans. That's just ludicrous. You got to be smarter than that. Let's go ahead and get into this work. And I want to encourage you all to send in your comments, questions, your support, tuition, URLs, timestamps early, such that we can have a show with good flow. And mind you, though I'm not the first to speak on this, I will be the best, per usual, because I'm the most honest, one of the most knowledgeable. And those two in combination, you don't get very often. You might have someone who's extremely knowledgeable, but then they're not honest, typically because they're part of the intelligentsia or the matrix, and they're benefiting from the system that exists. Hence, they don't want to speak against it. You see, it's very easy to find some person who's poor or disenfranchised or, in jail like Julian Assange. Shout out to him because he's free. Yeah, they'll speak against the system because they're suffering under the existing system. But persons who are well educated, well adjusted, and well off, they're generally not going to speak against the system. Then there are those that speak enough truth so that they can get your attention, but they are not organizers. They are not revolutionaries. They are not doing anything. They are commentators, speakers, preachers, and they give you pretty words so that they can pass around the collection plate and gather up your earnings with no intention to ever deliver anything to you. No service, no nothing, just words. Let's get into it. First off, I don't know if that's a natural hair color. This guy kind of reminds me of Beavis and Butthead. So frankly, I'm going to take everything he says with great suspicion. But who wears a visor anyways? What is this, 1965? This ball, a patriotic tennis player? Don't know why he's wearing a visor, but we're going to carry on anyways.
Listen to the rally, right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him.
Now, that's actually a very powerful thing. And this moment in in American history reminds me of something very important. And I was not old enough to have experienced this, but as you know, I'm a great student of history. And so I will bring this to you all. when he said, I was at the rally, but I couldn't see him. Maybe he didn't have enough money to afford to get in there. Maybe they were charging. Maybe he wasn't early enough to get inside. But the fact that he went to go see a man and hear a man speak, even if he might have to be in the nosebleeds or he might have to be out in the parking lot, if he could just maybe get a glimpse of Trump or maybe just hear some of Trump's message, even though he could have been at home hearing it clearly and watching from the comfort of his own home on the television or on the computer, he wanted to go and be a part of the energy, be a part of the movement, feel the message. That lets you know something. I don't think that Biden could fill up a public bathroom with his true supporters. Biden doesn't have supporters. He just has Trump haters. Biden doesn't have supporters. He merely has Trump haters. So this young man, however strange he may look to you and I, because he looks like Beavis and Butthead to me, he went there out of a sincere urge to support. And these are the persons that the media misunderstands. They misname these persons. They call them undesirables. They call them deplorables. They call them white trash. They call them all kinds of things. But what they don't know to call them is the nucleus of revolution. Excuse me for a moment. Hello? I'm sorry, I got a couple important business affairs. I got some land I'm looking at today. And then I have someone coming to put together this very expensive custom table that has been months in the making. So just give me a moment. It's a table for Assassin headquarters for all of you. Hey there, I'm actually on a live session real quick. Can you give me the summary? Yeah, I'll tell them I'll leave the door unlocked. Are you taking care of the payment? Fantastic. Tell them I'll leave the door unlocked, give them the directions on how to get in here. Tell them don't say a word to me. Just come in and get to work. And tell him I'd like it set up inside of the kitchen and he can do whatever he needs to do. Bye. Excuse me. Let me just clear something and unlock the door. Then we're back at it. All right, ladies and saints, let's get back to this work. Here we go.
So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, but we noticed a guy crawling arm,
So right there, this is a basic, even a centuries old book, The Art of War by the master Sun Tzu. He speaks of controlling the heights. This is a basic in military strategy. Everyone knows this. Even civilians know this. Certainly those who have gone to West Point, those who are part of the armed forces, generals, persons who organize security, they all know that the heights are advantageous, especially for snipers. It's hard to fight up hills. It's just basics in combat. It's basics in armed conflict. The heights are advantageous. Even if you look, I say that to say, this is an obvious error. Now what we must assess is this an intentional error or was this an accident? It has been stated that we should never assign to malice what can be explained by stupidity or incompetence, which is to say, it could just be an accident, it could just be a mistake. Human IQ is actually declining, and increasingly you're going to find people who are incompetent in positions that they are unworthy of. Why? Diversity, equity, inclusion, liberalism, which is a mental disease. But before there was diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI initiatives, we had various forms of privilege and patronage and crony capitalism and favoritism. Let us not forget that people have been putting their family members in high positions for millennia. That is the human way. So this is not a new thing. You'll have many persons, some of whom are white nationalists, and they try to explain everything through, oh, it's because of these liberals, it's because of DEI, and that person was affirmative action. Well, you also historically you affirmative actioned in your son, your cousin, and your uncle who are incompetent fools. Shout out to the Bush family, who have been a political dynasty in the United States. Shout out to the Kennedy family, who's also been a political dynasty, which is completely contrary to our republic, which we call a democracy, because dynastic politics is something that you would find more so in a monarchy, not a proper country that has a pool of 360 million persons to choose talent from. So that's important to note. So, point one that we must consider is the fact that you have clearly they failed to properly advance the area. And when I say to advance the area, in advance of an event, you will go maybe a week, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, depending on the nature of the event or the nature of the environment, the terrain, and you'll go and secure it, which is to say you'll map it out. You'll decide which points are advantageous for snipers to fire. Intelligently, you'd put your snipers there instead of leaving it empty and making sure no one can go there. You'd be wise to put your snipers there, not knowing if the attack on the president's life will be from someone on foot, proximate, hand to hand, could be on foot with a knife, could be on foot with a handgun, or it could be at a distance, long range, sniper fire, rifles. You don't know. But the wisest thing to do is for all of the best places to take a shot, you should actually have your guys there. It's a basic. And in addition to that, you should have persons on ground to prevent access to these areas. And this should be mapped out weeks in advance. This is very basic, simple, and easy. What I was going to say earlier is that Trump reminds me of a Huey P. Long. Huey P. Long, in as much as Trump is not someone who came out of poverty, yet somehow he appeals to poor whites. It's actually quite fascinating how he's been able to do that. Both of whom came from relative privilege, though they appeal to poor whites. They are populist. Yes, they're populist leaders. Huey P. Long was the best of the populists. Similar to Trump, they attempted to impeach him. They certainly spoke ill of him. He undoubtedly is more intelligent than Trump, more articulate, a better speech maker, better dresser, not as good a businessman, but a phenomenal first-rate politician and a bit more of a revolutionary, and certainly more dictatorial in his approach. And similar to Trump, Huey P. Long, who was from Louisiana, in case you didn't know, he is one that the left, or shall I just say his opposition, which was not necessarily on the left, his opposition kept saying, you know what? He's a dictator. We can't have dictators in America. He must go. And they would use these metaphors and analogies and similes to say that he should get it without saying it overtly. You see, when they say that Trump is like that guy from Germany, what they're saying is, if you could take him out before he committed that atrocity that took out 25 million people, 6 million of which are always talked about, but took out a total of 25 million human lives, wouldn't you take him out early? Well, Trump is such a guy. We got to get him out of here. And when you vilify him and demonize him and accuse him of being a felon and a criminal, then you basically make his life seem less valuable, such that it emboldens people to take action against him, thinking they will be praised or they will not be punished. Further, let me be clear that we must remember you needn't have an organized deep state to put forward an attack on Trump's life, in as much as we have a multitude of persons who are mentally unwell. As an adult, I am regularly shocked at the many persons who walk through life while being completely and utterly broken. Some of them know it, many of them don't. There are enough persons in America who are not all the way well upstairs that we could easily have a lone gunman decide that they're going to do what is good for all of us. Hmm? We know that mental health issues are widespread. How do we know? Are you not mentally unwell if you're overweight? You're full, but you keep eating. Your stomach is stretching because you're eating too much. Your vice, gluttony, is being worn in public view, yet you have no shame. You were born a male, but you claim to be a woman. Hmm? You call a dog, which is a canine, one of the lower animals, you call it your son or daughter. Mental illness is widespread and accepted. It is so widespread that it has become normal. Mental illness is the new normal. So if you think that it is necessary to have a deep state put together a hit on Trump, no, it's not. It's just necessary to have one of these whack jobs step out of the shadows and try to pow. You see, it turns out that security can do wonders, but it cannot do everything. I mentioned Huey P. Long, for he was in fact assassinated. By whom? By a guy who a little bit throwed off mentally, but had a bit more motive than this fella did. I believe Huey P. Long had taken the job of this fella's father, and so he went to go avenge his father's losing his job. And he walked up to Huey P. Long when he was coming out of a political meeting in a government building. And while everyone was jostling around trying to take photos and ask him questions, you know, the press, fella walks forward, pulls out a pistol, bang, bang. Huey P. Long's out of there, died in the hospital later on. Died in the hospital saying, I got more work to do. But it turns out his job was done. I say that to say this: it is nearly impossible to protect someone all the time in all ways. Much of it is just theater, and much of it is just a psychological comfort. Let us understand the realities of what is possible. A lot of things, an infinite number of things: poison, chemical attacks, gunfire, arson. There's an infinite number of ways to take someone out. Disease, like there's so many different things you could put forward to take someone out. The idea that Secret Service or any organization could protect against all of them is fantasy. Now, just imagine how you go through the airports and they have TSA trying to protect us getting on the airplane, not realizing if someone wanted to take out a large number of persons, all you'd have to do is go to one of the busiest airports in the world, which is Atlanta. Go to the Atlanta airport during a peak time when you have the highest number of flyers, and boom, you take out a significant number of persons. And then at that point, once you realize that, you become keenly aware that all of that security is not to protect the people, the citizens. It's probably to protect the government officials in the government buildings, because they don't want someone to take an aircraft and drive it into, you know, an important building in America. But it's not to protect the people, because you don't go through TSA to get into the airport where there's, you know, a lot of people gathered. You go through TSA to get onto the airplane. Think about that. TSA is mostly a waste. And also, you ever notice that when you're going through the security check, there's like 80 TSA employees, but maybe 18 of them are engaged in work while the others are texting or having, you know, jolly conversation. You ever notice that? Yes, I'm pointing out to you that much of the world that you live in is an utter joke. If you haven't got the Book of Dark Truths, I highly recommend it, for you might understand the world that you live in better. It'll give you more peace of mind. Yes, and maybe you'll get a couple laughs too as you look at people exercising strategies that add up to nothing. Anyways, let me respect our tradition, which is show love to those who show love to you. May I acknowledge those supporting the work. Shout out to Joseph, supporting the work via Venmo. He writes, tuition. May also acknowledge Travis, sending in tuition as well. Shout out to Patrick. He writes, good morning, Commander. Hope you're feeling virile and happy. I am feeling very virile. Thank you very much. May I acknowledge Anthony? He writes, peace of saints, very important topic. Thank you. Indeed, it is an important topic. I'm the only one that can cover it. I listened to a number of other folks speak on the topic, and I was very underwhelmed. So here we are. And mind you, I don't speak on something just because it's news. I speak on it because I have something to contribute. May I acknowledge Anthony? He writes, message sent via email, and he sent it in using Venmo. Here it is. He writes, it's been a while since I've caught a live, so I'm sending my tuition early. The last time I asked for advice, I was in the tech field as a data analyst, but was unable to land a job due to lack of experience. Everyone listen to what he's saying. Recently, I've pivoted toward a more blue collar career. I've recently obtained my Class A license, and I'm working for a flatbed truck company. I enjoy driving, so I decided to pursue it. My plan is to use the money to enter back into the tech field by purchasing your app course and making my own app. Okay. He writes, I know. Oh, and by the way, I dropped the link for those. That's one of the best courses out there, which is it's a practicum course. And we're going to do some more sessions. So let's bank on that actually. It's a practicum, meaning there's a ton of pre-recorded lectures that teach you how to go from zero to hero in terms of creating an application, whether it's a web application or a mobile application. He writes, I know you told me it would work out, and it did. I want to thank you for your encouragement, advice, and tough love. You see, he said, I told him it would work out, and it did work out. And it's true of all of you. Everything is going to work out for you. I promise you. He writes, Assassin or nothing, looking forward to a consultation in the future. I also acknowledge via PayPal. Shout out to Clay. He's been coming in a lot lately. He writes, Peace of the Saints. Would you recommend to someone who is aspiring to be great to take the Master Communicator course first, then Boss University? No, I would recommend you take Boss University first. Now, mind you, this is how pure I am when I talk to you. The Master Communicator course is more expensive, so it makes me more money. Okay, let's be clear. My Master Communicator course makes me more money. I'm telling you, don't take it if you haven't taken Boss University and your goal is to be great. Truly great, not to look great, not to sound great, but to actually be great. Start with Boss University, because Boss University starts with the inside of you, makes it real so you don't pretend. A lot of people are concerned with image rather than substance. So that's my recommendation. Take the Boss University course first. Thank you for asking. May I acknowledge Imagine Onward. He writes, thank you for providing your insight to set the record straight. Oh, and we shall. I also acknowledge Robert. He writes, guaranteed to be the best coverage. You better believe it. Analysis and education on the internet regarding this critical incident. Support tuition. Indeed. And part of the reason is because so many of the persons who speak on these topics, they act like they're in some sense revolutionary. They call themselves red pill. They call themselves alpha male. They call themselves savages. They call themselves beasts. They call themselves this and that and the third. But when we look at them, we think we must be boggled and puzzled as to like, well, how are you a Christian, a moral Christian, but you keep platforming people who guzzle Skittles? In your book, that is stated to be an abomination. So why is it that you platform these individuals and bring them more fame, more notice, and you treat them with dignity and decency such that people think that what they're doing is okay? No, we must shun persons who are doing filthy things. We must, and we shall, so that the youngsters understand what not to do. Shout out to Ethan. He writes, Peace of the Saints tuition. I believe this could be a staged event. I obviously have zero proof, but I know that is neither impossible nor improbable. Now, this is actually quite a fascinating thing. And some persons might say, oh, don't be a conspiracy theorist. Well, I agree. Let us not be conspiracy theorists. However, let us never remove any possibility off of the table, especially with regards to human beings, because we are capable of the most devious things, and particularly those who are in politics, which is a dirty game. Anyone who goes into politics must know that it is a filthy, dirty game filled with vultures and hyenas. And with that being the case, if you're going to deal with snakes, you must know how to get on your belly and slither as well. So how much would it improve Trump's position to survive an assassination attempt in general? It would improve greatly. You look like a strong man. You're the immortal. And even better, it just grazed you. If it was a mere centimeter to the left, you'd be dead. God must have decided that you should be here so that you could preside over the rise of this country. God has willed it. And if you've seen or gotten the Book of Dark Truths, which is a 2-day summit, I highly recommend. Do drop the link. The Book of Dark Truths explains that historically, this is what we do. Yeah, well, I shouldn't say we, but this is what the power structure does to fool you. Yeah, the Book of Dark Truths is something you need. A lot of you guys are using books that don't teach you a damn thing, books that leave you in deeper levels of confusion. Do you not think that politics is theater? Do you not think that politicians want to be aligned with God? You don't find it strange that every single president of the United States has been a Christian? Out of their mouth, at least, they're all Christians. Even Barack Obama, a Christian. Why? They want to appeal to the evangelicals in the Bible Belt, the Southerners, because America is a strong white Christian country. They want to appeal. So whether they're actually Christian or not, they say they are, but are they really? Of course not. You'll learn. Get the Book of Dark Truths. For example, you hear of Napoleon Bonaparte. You guys have heard of him, French emperor. And he said something to the following effect. He said, if I were to rule a country of Jews, I would rule it with the Torah in my hand. Huh? For the members, if you guys are a member, check out my breakdown of the book, The Prince by Machiavelli. This is where Robert Greene steals all of his ideas from. And in that breakdown, I explain that, I share that Machiavelli, who was an Italian diplomat and advisor, he notes that a wise leader, uses the cloak of religion. The cloak, he puts on religion and takes it off when it's convenient, like it's a garment, like it's a piece of clothing. And he uses it to cover over his true nature and his real moves and to confuse the populace. Because here's the funny thing, though the politicians don't believe in God, they don't believe in the Bible and Christianity and the good books and the Torah in Islam, they don't believe in any of it. But you, the average people, you believe in these stories. You were raised on these stories. You love a good story. Yes, you're captivated by a good fiction. Yes? Imagine Islam, a religion of modesty. Look at the United Arab Emirates. What is it most famous for? Dubai. What is Dubai about? Modesty? No. Places filled with prostitutes. Money laundering hub of the world. It's where the famous and the wealthy and the wicked and the drug dealers store their money in real estate. Used to be Panama, now it's Dubai. I say that as a point of fact. I've been there in excess of 18 times. I know for a fact. You can go buy multi-million-dollar properties in Dubai. They don't even ask you where you got the money. Not that they should. They shouldn't be in your business, but they don't ask. And that's a part of policy. They got a lot of dirty money there. You know what? You go to the United Kingdom, you can't even go to a casino and spend and bring out more than $3,000 US. You got to fill out all these forms. That's because there's no freedom in the United Kingdom. You go to Las Vegas, which is where I live. And once you go over, I think, $10,000, then you got to fill out forms because there's something called the Secrecy in Banking Act. They try to make sure, they claim they're trying to make sure you're not doing anything illegal with money, but it's really just the government monitoring its wealthiest citizens, because those are the ones that are dangerous, right? They can pay for revolution. They can finance the revolution, because after all, what is a military other than paid killers, mercenaries? And very few people have the moral force to get people to bear arms and risk their lives for free. Very few people have that moral authority. Moral authority usually comes from religious persons. If you ever become an effective religious leader, they will immediately call you a cult. Why? So they can pull away people from following you, because that is too powerful. The government cannot contend with it. Because for the government to get people to go fight on their behalf, they have to conscript them. They have to put them in a draft, which means force them. Yes, you will begin to understand this world. You pay attention. Anyways, Ethan, when you say that this could have been staged, it absolutely could have been staged, because I'll tell you this. Number one, a rifle is a firearm for long-range shooting, no doubt. So that makes sense. He took the proper tool to get the job done. Now, what is the chance? I think it's damn near quite hard to shoot and just miss by, you just happen to miss and graze them. I mean, to me, I can't even lie to you. It seemed kind of weird to me, frankly. It seemed kind of weird. He could have missed by feet. He could have missed by inches and not hit him at all, but you miss by centimeters and graze the ear so that there's some blood for the theatrical aspect of it. He's not injured, but there's some blood for the theater. You hit him in the most non-threatening, non-injurious way that will not affect his appearance, will not affect his ability to move forward. I find that to be curious. I'm not saying it was staged. I'm just saying it's very curious. It's very curious. And also the fact that he was on a roof and like a dude who looks like Beavis and Butthead was able to spot this out, but this dude right here, this guy spotted it out, but the Secret Service couldn't. I mean, when you say it might be staged, I don't think you're crazy. I think that's worth hearing out. Shout out to Ryder, writes, first time supporting from Kenya. Peace of the Saints. Indeed, peace of the Saints. And may I wish all of my peace and blessings to those who are in Kenya. I know that you guys are in trying times right now, but every now and then, that Statue of Liberty that stands in our country and, figuratively stands in everyone else's country is covered by, mud and muck. And you must wash it clean with blood sometimes. You have a president right there who is basically obedient to the IMF, the World Bank, and the international organizations that care nothing about the Kenyan people. And he's doing some taxing that is basically causing regular, everyday Kenyans to suffer greatly, to suffer unduly. And so I hope that things are fixed there. May I acknowledge Joshua supporting the work via PayPal. Also, shout to Davion. He writes, peace of the Saints, tuition. I know this incident is a lot deeper than it seems on the surface. Oh, it is indeed deep. He writes, looking forward to this breakdown. Yes, I've heard some other commentators claim that we're so close to the Civil War. It's ironic because these are persons who would never bust a grape in a fruit fight. And they don't know any revolutionary elements. They don't know the leaders of the revolution. They don't even know the ones who will act out the revolution. Huh? Yes. So I find it curious that they speak of civil war because they're cowards. I wouldn't even believe any of these guys have been in a street fight. I wouldn't believe you if you told me that they've given out a bloody nose. They're over here talking about revolution. Curious. Now, when we hear that civil war is right around the corner, I also have to bring in the paradox that though we might be very close to revolution breaking out, we're also still very far at the same time. We're very close to revolution and still very far at the same time. It's a paradox. What I mean is this. One event, boom, right event, boom. Yes, send things tumbling down the road toward violence and unrest and disharmony. But just as easily, Americans can say, you know what, I like this peace, this middle class living. I turn on the light switch, the lights turn on. I turn on the water. It's mostly drinkable unless you're in Michigan. Life is pretty good. I can use my Instagram and I can still go shopping unless I'm in California where they loot the stores. So, life is pretty good. I think I'd like to carry on in this comfort. After all, when they told us to stay in the house and wear Halloween masks, I didn't do anything then. Why would I do anything now? Yes, when they assassinated Medgar Evers, assassinated Malcolm X, assassinated John F. Kennedy, assassinated Martin Luther King, I think they got Robert F. Kennedy as well. I didn't do anything then. Why would I do anything now? So, point is, yes, we're close. We're also still quite far away because Americans are quite docile. And strangely, those who claim to be believers in freedom are also still believers in government and believers in the police, which is to say they support the police state, which makes it harder to find revolutionary elements. And also the persons like you who would be revolutionaries, you get confused into listening to these goofs on the internet. Alex Jones is one such person, and I hate to speak ill of him, but I was listening to my good brother and business partner, Myron Gaines, and he was on his stream, and Alex kept interrupting everyone. He was like, I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say one more thing. I'm gonna get off of here. The deep state. What we need to call for right now is peace. Well, first off, you've interrupted everybody like 13 times. You're not even a civil person, so I don't really want to hear anything you have to say because you're so convinced of your own intelligence and rightness that you won't hear anyone else out. That's extremely narcissistic, and it makes the conversation unpleasant. Secondly, you speak of the deep state and then you speak of peace. Oh, that's not very revolutionary, my dear boy. Will I publicly call for violence? No, I won't. But I certainly won't publicly call for peace in times such as these. These are not times where a man should be peaceful. While your liberty is in a chokehold, you think peace is the way? Don't be silly. You also have to acknowledge the irony when Trump supporters, as they were called, supposedly stormed the Capitol. There was no violence on the side of the Trump supporters, yet there was jail time given out. Now you have Trump being attacked with violence, and people pretend as though that was the first attack. It was not. The first attack of violence on Trump was when you jailed him. That was the first attack. Free my boy. That was the first attack. Jail is violence. Prison is violence. Fake criminal charges is violence. And then I heard another imbecile, I shouldn't be so mean. I heard PBD. He said, well, listen to me, hear me out. You know, I think that if they take out Trump, it's just going to be like when they took out JFK. People are going to come, they're going to want to come and be like JFK and like represent everything that he represents. When they took off Martin Luther King, people are going to, keep the movement going. No, that's actually quite sophomoric and foolish. When you kill a leader, you often kill the movement. It is the most effective thing. It is called cutting off the head. Then you only have the body. The body dies without the head. The head is utterly critical. That is why the charismatic leader is to be so feared. You see, Napoleon Bonaparte, it was said that when he would come among his men, it was like doubling the size of a platoon or doubling the size of the column because he inspired the men, just like Winston Churchill. V for victory. He kept them fighting. The Chamberlain couldn't do it. There's certain men among us who are strong. They really have brass and steel within them. Those men are game changers. When you eliminate them, what is left is insufficient. So you'd be a fool to suggest that if you were to take out Trump, the movement would carry on. No, the movement would fall apart and die, lest there was another leader. And frankly, Trump is not the most impressive leader. I compared him to Huey P. Long, but he is Huey P. Long's inferior. Huey P. Long was smart enough to create not quite his own party, but he was able to build out his own structures for his own protection. He had a greater elaboration on his philosophy, which was every man a king. Whereas conversely, Trump bootlegged a phrase from Ronald Reagan, make America great again, not realizing that you cannot make America great again unless you make Americans great again. He's looking at it as a businessman, not remembering that even in his own book, The Art of the Deal and others, he talks about hiring talent. Well, America's talent is not very damn good. They're overweight, they're lazy, they're increasingly liberal, very communist minded. You have to clean their minds and strengthen their bodies, make our stock of people great again so that the country can be great. He's overly concerned with improving, trade balance and, policy and imports, and all of those things are necessary and good. But if you fail to recreate culture here, we all die. All of us. So he is the best we have in terms of those who have big names that are running, but he is still insufficient. He's a good start, but he's not going to get us across the finish line. Huh? Anyways, shout out to Davion. As I said, he writes, Peace to the Saints. I know this incident is a lot deeper than it seems on the surface. Looking forward to this breakdown. I also acknowledge JVR. He writes, tuition. Will you ever make that hat available again? This hat right here is actually available. It is available at mdblabel.com. If someone could go through mdblabel.com and find the one with the black flag on it and just select the black coloration and drop that link in the chat, we'd appreciate it. Probably one of the moderators would need to do that so that you can actually click the link. Acknowledge Miles. He writes, Peace of the Saints. Trump is officially the first black president. Do you think this will unite us or further divide us? Thank you for all that you do, Mr. Burton. Miles, the best thing that this has done is it brought some of the cowards out who were too scared to say, I rock with Trump. And now all of a sudden, I fully endorse President Trump. Thanks, Elon Musk. Got $1 billion and you still a coward. You got $1 billion and you own the media and you're still a coward. You got to wait until the guy almost gets murdered to start supporting him. You see, that's a lesson on human nature right there. Some of you fools think because somebody got $1 billion, they're a political revolutionary. No, they might just be a savvy businessman. And that's where their skill set begins and ends. Business. They might not have any morals, scruples, any bravery, any ism, any ability to maintain relationships with other humans or women. They might just be a good businessman. And you guys need to stop confusing money with godliness and confusing money with other things that it's not. Okay? It kills me Elon Musk for president. Why? Because he makes a great electric car. Because he makes a great electric car. I got a good friend of mine I went to university with. He even joined my fraternity. Very intelligent young man, Jewish, in fact, great family, and has a one. He even got me in the tech game. Honestly, he's responsible for much of what I've achieved in terms of getting me in there and really helping facilitate the knowledge and early investments. He, at age 25, 60 employees in different parts of the world, doing really well for himself. We would discuss politics, completely brain dead, this kid. Love him to death, completely brain dead. But he wants to go into politics as a Democrat. Yeah, people are arrogant. They think they can do it all, but they can't. And you guys think because somebody has $1 billion that we need to make them president. Elon Musk, before he explicitly said, I am not endorsing anyone. Then Trump gets shot. Let's hop on the bandwagon. Amazing. Amazing leadership there, Elon. Do it when it's easy. Do it when it's popular. Great leadership, E. You guys will remember, I'm the first in YouTube to make YouTube about that which is offline, building real communities, scaling it around the world with sections and hierarchy, executives in each place, leading men in enhancing their minds and bodies and their perspectives. You'll remember I started that. You'll see others do it, and I encourage them. But remember who started it. And I hope that they bless everyone with some ism when they're doing this. In fact, somebody remind me, I want to make an art canvas or maybe even a t-shirt that says red pill and it has a line crossed out and then it puts Marquettism under there. Because that's what's moving forward. Red pill is rubbish. I heard someone write a comment on one of my videos and they put like, this girl just got red pilled so hard by Marquette. No, she didn't get red pilled. She got hit with that ism. You heard me? And the ism saves lives. Yeah. See, here's the thing about the chicks that get hit with the ism. They'll often get hit with that ism, be mad on the TV show, and then DM me like, yo, you know what? I reflected on what you said. It made sense. And I could tell that you don't hate me. You hate what I did. I understand what you're pushing the world toward, Marquette. That's different than red pill. Red pill's garbage. We grind it into dust and piss on it. Carrying on.
Bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, and, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle.
Now, here's the funny thing. The fact that the guy's on the roof, well, here's the thing. He took time to get up the roof. That's a little bit of time to notice. Then he got on the roof. Then he should be very visible to all of the different installations of security that Secret Service has. Then the fact that he has a rifle. Rifle is a long gun. I remember when I was 18, I had a shotgun. Even a pump shotty is quite a large gun. A rifle is even longer, right? To get that precision at the distance. So it's very hard to miss a guy on a roof in general and a guy on a roof with a long rifle in particular. So that's a major failing. Then once the civilians notify law enforcement, be them police or Secret Service, who theoretically should be in collaboration, there should have been a very instantaneous nipping of this guy in the bud. You don't even have to give him a kill shot to the head. You could, boom, hit him with a little something light in the leg or, the arm just to disable his ability to shoot accurately at the true target. So as a result, he would have been disabled and then you could have removed him. And even if you like hit him in the leg or hit him in the arm and it turns out that he was like a guy who owned this particular barn and he was just getting on there to repair a leak, it wasn't fatal. He just learned a hard lesson. But at the end of the day, a part of this failing is human psychology. Sometimes you guys might think, Marquette, you're insane when I say things like we should nuke China right now while they're not ready and while there's no real probable cause so that we can basically ensure our hegemony moving into the future. And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, you should nuke them right now, because even if they saw the signs from their defense systems indicating that there's an incoming deadly projectile, they probably wouldn't even believe it and wouldn't react, because they'd be like, why would they do that? And then boom, then they're like, oh, no, that was real. Now they're trying to react. It's too late. The reason that I say that is because even if Secret Service did get notified that there was a guy on that roof, and they were not intentionally trying to fail at their job, there's a psychological reaction to the unexpected. There's a psychological reaction to the unexpected that causes you to freeze up or causes you to not take action because you might be disbelieving because it's unexpected. You might be saying, oh, no, that can't be. No, it is. It is. And that is why, in some cases, people will not react appropriately in the moment. Women know all about this because they almost never react appropriately in the moment. They wait 30 years and they turn around and hit you with the hashtag Me Too. But this is why you have to go through serious training, and you have to have serious drills, and you have to have serious tests. And often, when you're in a high risk organization doing work that is critical, but you don't have enough real emergencies or real scenarios, you fall asleep at the wheel. I mean, I've never been in TSA and looked around and said, wow, these are really serious people. They're serious about my security. Every time I look at TSA, I'm like, these are fat imbeciles who probably only have a high school degree, and their biggest concern is stealing my lotion and my bottled water. Their biggest concern is not my safety. Their biggest concern is stealing my lotion and my bottled water. I'm convinced that these folks work for like a water corporation or a cosmetic corporation, and they're just trying to get us to drive up purchases by having to rebuy perfectly good cosmetics and water that we have to throw away for no reason, because apparently our government is not sophisticated enough to figure out if a bottle of goddamn water is dangerous. Our government is not sophisticated enough to figure out if eye drops are going to kill people.
Absolutely. We're pointing at them. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And
now what he's describing, I do believe him. And I do believe that this proceeded precisely how he's explaining it. Shout out to Dylan. He writes, I need that shirt, Piece of the Saints. I got to remember to put this one out. In fact, I did put this one out some time ago. And the sites, basically my hosting site, long story short, the powers that be shut it down. Long story short, but I'm gonna put it back up if somebody would be kind enough to remind me. I have my briefcase here to take some notes, so someone will have to send me a reminder. Carrying on.
Next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes.
He said, why is Trump still speaking? You see, there's a canvas that you can buy at sasnbrand.com. That's SASN brand.com. Would I make a woman a Secret Service agent? Probably not. Definitely not in the sense that I would have a man, but would I have them in critical support roles? For sure. And that canvas, Sources of Power, has a woman's love at the top. Generally speaking, love is a powerful thing. Emotions are powerful. And I'm just imagining a woman who loves you being in this position in Secret Service, and like her being alerted to this. Get him off the stage. I mean, she wants you off that stage, Irby. Women are going to do whatever it takes to keep their man alive. I say that to say, beyond women, you want people around you who are responsible for your security and your safety and your well-being, who love you. Our challenge, especially the more successful we are, we have a lot of strangers around us. We have a lot of people who want to be around us, thinking that they can steal away some of our wealth, some of our fame or clout just by standing next to us. But they really don't have our interests at heart. They don't actually love or care about us. You see, you could hire a bodyguard, but remember that you hired them. One of the things America today doesn't understand, because America is a godless country with no morality and no values, they don't understand why they can't defeat those persons that they call terrorists. The reason they're unable to defeat those persons is because you have an army of mercenaries who are paid killers. Paid. You have to pay them. You got to give them a grant to pay for their college. And they go, and most of them are just trying to milk the system. They don't really want to fight. And you got those guys going up against people who say, Allahu Akbar! And they believe that they're fighting for blood, country, and their God. That's hard to beat. That's hard to beat. You're going up against people who you may have bombed their country, killed their parents. They don't have anything to live for. Literally, they don't have any family. You actually kill their family, so they don't have much to live for. You have people who, in the absence of fighting against you, what are they going to do? They're not going to go to the mall. There's no mall in their country. Then I can go home and watch Netflix. There's no electricity in some of these places. Yes, because of you. Whether you paid for the bomb or you paid for that other country that has become a settler state in the Middle East to drop bombs. You think these persons are not being radicalized and hating you for financing the death and destruction that is occurring in their homeland? Yes, they're fighting for blood and soil. Yes, they're fighting for their dead parents. They're fighting for their God. And in their book, there are scriptures that speak to jihad. And they say that, yes, we can defend ourselves. We can defend our religion. We can defend the Ummah, and we will. And when God says do it, that's a powerful voice saying do it. So you think that your mercenaries, your paid killers who are not really killers, they're really just kids who want a free college education. You think those kids are going to contend against hardened savages who are driven by God and vengeance and a bloodlust, who have been fighting against the likes of you for decades on end? And some of them are Arabs, and these Arabs come from clans that have been blood feuding for centuries. You're nuts. These are people who do not give up. These are like piranhas in water. You will not defeat them. You have no chance of defeating them. They will multiply and duplicate and replicate. You cannot beat them, but you don't understand that. Huh? I say that to say this. You got Trump, and he has failed to create his own Tonton Macu, which is basically Francois Duvalier, also known as Papa Doc by his detractors. He was called a dictator in Haiti, and he created the Tonton Macoute, which was a paramilitary organization responsible for his security. Because when he came into power, he knew that the existing military and security apparatus might be filled with some of his haters, detractors, enemies, those who are not loyalists. And so he created his own security apparatus. Do you think that the Secret Service that is currently employed by the U.S. government, which is currently controlled by your opposition, Joe Biden, you think that all of them are 100% Trump supporters? Probably not. Not even Trump supporters are 100% Trump supporters. Let me get to it. Peep this. And that's why you always see me. I'm all about, look, if you're not with me, you're against me, and I want you out of here. Here's why. Because if you're not with me 100%, you ain't with me. For example, there's an individual, and I'm going to play the clip a little bit later. He's an emergency room physician. And the guy who shot and tried to kill Trump, allegedly, that guy then got shot by supposedly one of the Secret Service agents. And the ER physician said, hey, I'm an emergency room doctor. Let me treat him. He was also wearing a Trump hat. So was he really a Trump supporter? Because I tell you this, if somebody tried to kill me and you're my supporter and you're a doctor, I don't want you treating them. If someone tried to kill you and I rock with you and you're a friend of mine and I'm an emergency room doctor and they got shot right next to me and they fall out, I'm probably going to try to block other people from giving them help. Not only am I not going to help them, I'm going to block other people from helping them. Because you just tried to kill my friend. And that's not cool with me. You just tried to kill my leader. That's not cool with me. You just tried to kill my family member. That's not cool with me. As a man, I'm going to let you die in the dirt. And if I can maybe speed it up without getting in trouble, I just might. Come on now, let's talk about it. We're in revolutionary times. That man was probably not a Trump supporter. I couldn't imagine you witness somebody try to kill Trump and then you try to save their life.
Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling police and the Secret Service.
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were.
And this is precisely why we have less and less belief in government institutions, which is why I encourage you all to co-locate, because sometimes you call 911, they no show. You call 911, they take forever to show. I don't call 911. I call the homies. But ideally, I don't need to call nobody. Because listen, if it's my life or yours, I'm not picking up a phone. I'm picking up that UOP, and I ain't gonna hesitate 1 minute at all.
Looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see him?
Binoculars,
Could they see him?
probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could.
So here's another thing. So when he said, could they see him? And he said, probably not. Who knows? Again, this guy looks like Beavis and Butthead. But moreover, you see him there holding an alcoholic beverage with a Trump. I forget what that thing is called. Like only the whites really use these things, is, you know, put your beer inside of it. But that's why I don't know the name of it. I haven't been around these kinds of whites in a while. I used to live in Kentucky, by the way. I used to live in Kentucky, had an office in Cincinnati, so I used to know what this thing is called, but it's escaping my mind. A koozie. That's right, a koozie. This guy is either one of the whites or he's been around him. He knows it. The koozie. That is for sure what they call it. But what I want to point out is that white culture's been it's been declining for a while, and all of the cultures need to be revived and have morality re-injected. The fact that you have this dude drinking beer with Trump's face on the beer cover, and like there's like a cool culture around beers, like you even hear imbeciles saying that, you'll see it in the comments, they'll say, you know, hold my beer, and then they go do something like some tough guy stuff. Well, you know, tough guys don't drink beer, as it turns out. And also, someone let me know, I think Trump is not a drinker. I think that's the case. I think Trump doesn't drink alcohol. Someone let me know. And I also believe 50 Cent, the rapper, doesn't drink alcohol. Floyd Mayweather doesn't drink alcohol. You'll be surprised at how many high performers don't engage in this kind of thing. Anyways, the point is that these things we need to address. Even the Haktua white girl is a part of this perverse culture. I was listening to a country song recently, and a woman was like singing like, I'm drunk and I want you to take me home because you're looking at me like you love me. And I was just like, this is perversion. This is just as bad as Sexy Red. It's actually the same thing with less vulgarity, but just as ratchet. And a slur is a slur, whether she's a black slur with enormous eyelashes that are fake and a hair hat, or she's a blonde slur wearing cowboy boots with her lips pumped up to look like a black girl's lips. They're both slurs, whether it's a country song or rap music song. And they're both spreading poison and corruption, and that it all needs to be dealt with. And the fact is, you'll hear a lot of these broads in the comments. They're on my Instagram, and drop my IG so y'all can see what bosses live like. I'll see these slurs in my comments every now and then. They'll say like men need to not talk about what women do. Oh no, actually we are going to talk about what you do because we run you. That's right. Men lead. Men run you, and you will be put in control. You will be put back in control. Your behaviors will no longer be tolerated. Behaving like a slur is out. That's yesterday's news. So yes, we are going to be managing your affairs. You've been put on notice. And the greatest of men will be manage the affairs of other men, which is to say, you have a lot of males who are perverts, and we need to get them in line. I kid you not, I did an interview on my other channel, The Saint, which appears to be going viral in South Africa. It was an interview with a woman who earns her money not standing up, shall we say. You have imbeciles in the chat like, oh, she's so pretty. Or even in my clips on Instagram, you know, talking to these 304s who do OF as a job that they're obviously not being well paid for. I was like, oh, she's hot, or she's like, bro, like, knock it off. First off, whether she is or is not hot, some things need not be said. Let me tell you what your father should have told you. Hold that in, my boy. Secondly, whether she's attractive or not, you do not agree with, pump her up, or give her any positive feedback, because her behaviors are despicable. And so she needs to be condemned. And that is why we are condemning her. And when she starts behaving like a respectable woman, then we can give her some compliments that are in line with her being a respectable woman, not complimenting her on her attractiveness, complimenting her on her modesty, complimenting her on her kindness, complimenting her on her service. Carrying on.
See, but why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
Right.
Did you see? I mean, obviously everyone.
That's correct. And even Beavis and Butthead was able to figure that out. I said that earlier. You should have had Secret Service on those roofs. So dude couldn't have even gotten on to get that shot, get the position to get that shot, because there would have already been someone there. That was strange. And furthermore, if you had a lack of personnel, there are certain environments that you can select to do the event in where it just drastically reduces the number of heights that a sniper could use to take position. But they did not choose such a position. And frankly, with the amount of taxes that the United States government steals from the people, they have plenty of money and plenty of personnel. That's all a farce. But one thing I would tell you, Book of Dark Truths, if I were Biden, I would certainly pull budget on the Secret Service detail for Trump and whoever is running against me, right? I'd say we don't have the budget, and then I'd send them the worst people who are novice, who are female, who are incompetent, and I'd hope that something goes wrong. And then I would act like I didn't have a clue as to why it was. Book of Dark Truths.
When the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Bro Hood. Bro Hood. But British was like, did you see what happened to him, perhaps? Did you see that? Oh, yeah, they blew his head off. I actually saw the photo of it. They didn't blow his head off, unfortunately, but they did get him up out of there.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, we just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to...
Now, frankly, when someone says, is this staged? These kind of antics right here make me think it really could be. And here's why it's possible. I'm not saying it is. Here's why it's possible. Well, number one, generally people are going to, of course, ask, was this a one-man team, a one-man act? Was it a hit squad or their collaborators? Well, you don't know. There's no data at the time that it's occurring. So when that is the case, if that first shot didn't hit and there was a succession of shots, approximately 5 shots, we all know if you've ever shot a gun, especially a high-powered gun, is that there's something called recoil. Pow, and then you have to reposition and get that second shot off. So the most important shot, especially depending on the nature of the firearm that you're using and how it's stabilized, the most important shot is the first shot. The first shot really needs to be accurate as possible, because sometimes you only get one shot at a given target. But if you don't know if there's a more than one shooter, or if it's just like, if it could be a 2-man team, 3-man team, you don't know. Well, the worst thing to do after that is basically what they're doing here, which they have the president standing up long enough that he can go like, yeah, man, yeah. Well, if there's a 2-man team and the other person is as well positioned as the first person, they could get a nice little face shot right there. If the camera can see this guy's face, then theoretically a sniper bullet can also see his face. So I find this to be very strange that he has time to stand up in place and pump his fist, and that they don't appear to be feeling as though there's another urgent threat, which is very possible. And I would think likely if there was a proper attempt on his life, if it were me, I would certainly have at least 2 snipers on this, and I would have them ideally taking the shots in succession, right? But, this could just be one loon, but this just seems very strange that they have him up vertically and they're slow moving. It just does not seem intelligent at all. I'm going to rewind this just so you see how slow moving this is. I just clicked the back button several times and they're still in the same place.
When the shooting started, everyone
Check this out.
very panicked. Did you see what
Okay,
happened to him?
1, 2. So he's
Oh, yeah,
standing there. Shoot,
Okay,
shoot,
sorry.
shoot. Shot,
Secret
shot,
Service
sniper
blew his head
shot,
off.
sniper
Okay,
shot,
just
sniper
be
shot.
careful because
This
we
is
don't quite know who's
completely
watching, but
ridiculous.
you're pretty sure
Sniper shot, sniper shot,
shot the
sniper
guy.
shot, sniper
Absolutely,
shot, sniper
100%.
shot,
Okay.
sniper shot,
You
sniper
saw
shot,
that
sniper
happen?
shot, sniper
Yep.
shot.
Okay.
This is
Yep. And
ridiculous.
did you see...
So, personally, I don't know if I believe this. So, what I will say is that in the absence of conclusive evidence either way, I'll just say it's a crazy world we're living in. Because if I were Secret Service, or I was, if I trained this detail, I'd be extremely angry that why is he standing vertically with a clear visual of his face and head for way more than enough time than anyone would need. Anyone who's proficient with a rifle would need to take him out, or even to take out several of the agents. I mean, it just seems utterly ridiculous.
them go up to him afterwards, or...
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
Yeah. So I did see someone say, if you think this was staged or brain dead, it's like, I don't know about that. I think that's a bit strong. I think this very well could have been staged. Like, it's not beyond what is possible. And once you start deciding what is not possible, then you've decided to blind yourself. And that's probably not a wise thing to do. Let's take a look at the actual footage here, real quick, with the sound on. And before we do that, may I acknowledge EJ? He writes, sending in my strongest vote. Peace to the saints. Appreciate you. And that indeed, you got to vote with your feet, which is to say, sometimes you got to leave. You got to vote by living among those who are like you and share your values. You got to vote by how you spend your money. Shout out to Clay. He writes, thank you for your response. Peace to the saints. Indeed, you are welcome. And thank you. May I acknowledge Mr. Tammer? He writes, someone died in the crowd and it was clearly shown on Twitter, real death. If it's planned, I would say the SS either, or let me say the Secret Service, either knew the guy was up there and were Biden's guys and were forced to murk the shooter because he missed, or Trump was savage enough to murk one of his own in the crowd. Super low probability on that, but not possible, but not impossible. What's your theory at this point in time? If you think that politicians care about human life, if you believe that, man, I want to sell you one of Destiny's NFTs. If you believe that, politicians, in fact, every politician except Trump that's been in office in the United States largely since the Cold War, has ordered death on a regular basis. And in some cases, just the failure to clean the water in Michigan is evidence that they don't care about human life. So I think Stalin said it best. Actually, I'm not going to get into it. Just long story short, if you're asking me, do I believe that a politician would allow for what they like to call euphemistically collateral damage in pursuit of their greater end? Do I believe that? Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think that's a very easy call for them. Very easy call, in fact. And that's why I recommend the Book of Dark Truths, because if you're thinking in the way that Mr. Tammer is thinking, it's not that you're wrong. It's not that you're not smart. It's that you are a good person. And because you're a good person, it's hard to understand that there's people on earth that are actually wicked and evil. And I've seen so many things because I've existed in many strata of income and many different countries. And oh, by the way, I grew up with actual killers. Like my friends, actual killers. I'm not talking about like rapper killers where they like rap about shooting this and shooting that, but they never killed nobody. I'm talking about like actual killers and have done prison time and or are still in prison or are dead because of the people that they killed, like their family members caught up with them. I'm saying actual killers. And one of the funny things I just want to share with you, one of the most grimy individuals I know, who is for sure a verified killer of multiple persons, the funniest guy. Like he loves to laugh and joke, extremely jovial. If you were to meet him on good terms, meaning like you were a friend of mine and I introduced you and we all went out, oh, you'd be like, this dude is so fun. Like this dude's bundles of fun. He loves joking, horseplay, practical joking. He's a jolly guy. He's also a killer in real life with a rap sheet that you wouldn't believe in real life. So the problem is that if you've not experienced enough of the human types, you have so many assumptions. That's why when I look at internet people, I just think like these people are like silly nerds. They lack experience. They don't understand the real world. They say the most idiotic things. I saw one person comment on Anthony Joshua because Anthony Joshua was having like a pre-fight media thing with another boxer, and they said, "Oh, Anthony Joshua talking tough, like oh this is cringe." You can't talk tough. He's a prize fighter. He beats the snot out of people to make a living. Like he literally his work, his job is to punch another man unconscious. If he can't talk tough, who can talk tough? I said, what are you talking about? You're an idiot. You're an idiot sitting in a video gaming chair watching other men who are actually living life. people have all kinds of silly ideas. They think they know what killers look like. They think they know what drug dealers look like. They think they know what gangsters and criminals look like. They have not the foggiest idea. Like the average person is so lost. The Book of Dark Truths is a great revelation, because if you think that your government would not take out 1, 2, 3, or 3,000 innocent persons to achieve a goal that they decide is for their greater good, you're completely insane. Actually, you're not insane. You're completely uninformed. You're uninformed. You're not insane. You're uninformed. And the key to their efficacy is that you continue to like think that though it's a nice world out there. For those of you guys who have Spotify, check out The Saint and the Sinner. It's a track called Petty Hustlers. I have some messages embedded in there. You'll hear me speak of some things that I said it before it occurred, like before the court cases came out. I said, you transparent see-through. You ain't never kicked it with Romanians trafficking chicks through the EU. Before the court cases came out, you can hear it in the music. Go back and listen to it. Look at the date it came out, then look at the date those court cases came out. Anyways, carrying on.
Overnight, former President Trump walking off his plane hours after surviving this assassination attempt.
That said, take a look at what happened.
Shots ringing out as President Trump ducks down. Secret Service agents rush to his side, forming a protective shield.
All the Chads. Shout out to all of the Chadskis. They all look like clones. This is awesome. Now, for anybody who ever wants to use the term the Matrix, and they say Trump is fighting the Matrix, it looked like the goddamn Matrix is protecting him, right? Y'all saw the movie, like, I'm Agent. What was dude's name? Like Agent J. I forget what his name was, but whoever dude was, these dude all look like the agents on the Matrix. Am I wrong? Somebody tell me.
Other officers in tactical gear, armed with long guns, post up at the front of the stage.
Shout out to this broad right here trying to get this footage. Shorty, it's like, I know this footage is going to be worth some money. I'm going to make sure I get this footage. I don't need to live without this footage. That's right, Agent Smith. It looked like motherfucking Agent Smith was around protecting Trump. Somebody tell me I'm wrong.
Hold, when you're ready, on you. Ready, move.
Trump's security detail.
Okay, boom. So now we've lifted him up. He's in the same freaking position. He's literally in the exact same physical location where he was shot at. Now, mind you, I don't like conspiracy theories. I don't like the Illuminati. I don't like numerology, astrology, all of the nonsense. I'm a guy who's had formal education in prestigious universities. I've done business around the world. I've done business with various governments. I am a normal business guy. I don't deal with like goofy ideas and like all these internet conspiracy theories. But we all must concede that it is just frankly strange that you're holding him up in the exact same physical location where he was just shot at. And so if there was a second sniper, he has the most clear aim and he doesn't even have to reposition. You know, one of the most challenging things as a sniper is when you have to reposition, reset up your tool. Like they don't even got to reposition. Like he's right there within the same sights. It's just unreal. And not only did they pull him, stand him up in the exact same location, they then held him there for a photo op. Look,
lifting him up from the ground as he raises his fist, his ear and face bloody, gesturing to the crowd.
Photo op, photo op.
The Secret Service then.
Come on, somebody with common sense tell me like you didn't see an opportunity to load that man up with 30 more long range shots. It's very strange. It just makes no sense. It's baffling.
Moving him into an awaiting SUV. Another angle showing Secret Service agents reacting to the shots. The former president.
Now, what's more interesting to me is when that shot was taken on Trump by the alleged perpetrator. How did Secret Service identify so quickly where that perp was and neutralize him? Because what I heard was that it was a counter sniper that neutralized him. So how did that counter sniper lock onto his location and land that shot? I'm curious about that. I'm not saying it's not possible or it didn't happen. I'm just saying I'm curious. And we have more to go through. We're going to go through all of this. Send in your comments, questions, tuition, timestamps, etc.
President posting on his Truth Social account that he, quote, was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. This stunning photo from the New York.
Is that a stunning photo? Because I don't find that to be a stunning photo at all. And in fact, this photo means nothing in an era where I personally could make a photo that could be a shot zooming by his ear, or maybe I could use AI to make such a photo if I was lazy. But I don't find this to be a stunning photo at all, frankly. I don't find it to be evidence. I don't find it to be reliable. It's really not even worth showing. I don't even know why they showed the photo, frankly. Shout out to Quad. He writes, peace to the saints, tuition. I also sent you an email yesterday afternoon. Okay, I'll take a look.
New York Times capturing what appears to be a bullet on the right-hand side of the image whizzing by the former president's ear.
If he had not moved his head at that nick of time, it could have been a lot worse.
Mr. Trump extending his
head at that nick of time.
Here we go. Shout out to, where did they, I'm not going to say nothing about this lady. Bless her heart. That's what my grandmother used to say when she would hear people say something foolish, or she could tell that somebody just didn't understand. She'd be like, bless her heart. I'll just leave it at that. But more importantly, here's where they get the mythology that really impresses low IQ people. And by low IQ, I mean everyday people. If he didn't move at the nick of time, God must have blessed him and blessed us that he's alive, because he moved at the nick of time and it just grazed his ear and it didn't harm a hair on Trump's body. He's blessed by the Lord, our Jesus Christ and Savior. Jesus is King. Amen. Okay, love. Yeah. So dude had a rifle and he just happened to just nick that ear. Totally missed. It's just happened to be a one-man job. And that first shot just happened to be a little bit off. Instead of aiming for like the chest, which would be a much bigger target, which would surely be harder to miss and would definitely probably take him out, you aim for his head, which is a smaller target, and you miss. Fascinating. Very fascinating. To me, I mean, maybe not to you.
Time, it could have been a lot worse.
Mr. Trump extending his condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured.
The man beside me suffered a gunshot wound to the head, was instantly killed.
President Biden, who learned about the tragic
instantly. I guess if you got to go, that's the way to go.
Events, condemned the shooting.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick.
And this is how I know that all these people are robots. You'll notice that they use the same kind of language. We got Freddie Roach as president. Shout out to my boxing fans, know who I'm talking about. We got Freddie Roach over here as president. He sound like the kids on the Peanuts gang. What was that cartoon? I didn't watch it, but it was the one with Snoopy. Every time somebody started talking, it's just how like, you're gonna hear them repeat. There's no place in America for violence, and they use the same language, which makes you think that somebody kind of wrote this up as a script and told all of the robots to use the same language.
It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening.
Bro, you tried to put him in jail. Stop it.
I mean, we cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
This video shows the body of the alleged assassin on the roof of a building, his spot just roughly 150 yards from where Mr. Trump was speaking.
It's amazing how sad. That's so easy. Now, one thing that's curious is I'm looking at the number of cars. I don't know if this is an old Google image. Or if this has to be old, because I don't see really many human beings there, not very many cars. Yeah.
One witness telling BBC News he saw the shooter.
We noticed the guy crawling like they did 5 shots ring out.
ATF FBI identifying the alleged gunman as Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20 years old.
So here's the curious part. And this is why I consistently point out that it doesn't need to be the deep state or an organized conspiracy. There's enough mentally ill persons running around now, but for sure, the Secret Service of the United States of America, which is supposedly the most powerful country in the world and has the most well-funded military infrastructure in the world by far, it's not even close. Really, they shouldn't be embarrassed by a 20-year-old kid, because and it's not even this is not a 20-year-old genius. This is not a 20-year-old kid who went to top universities. This is not a 20-year-old kid who, was like the Julian Assange at 20 years old. This is not a Mark Zuckerberg at 20 years old. This is a kid who's a nobody, did not have a like significant education, was not like a particularly impressive, software engineer. Like there's nothing really remarkable about this kid that would have given him the unique ability to execute on something like this. The only thing at 20 years old that he would be able to do, or rather should be able to do in terms of the assassination attempt, is at 20, he has the gullibility, the ignorance to have the ambition to do something and not think of all of the reasons it won't work. And then at age 20, he has the hand-eye coordination, the stability, and the physical prowess to actually execute on the shot itself. And, I can shoot a rifle reasonably well. And this kid, he's from Pennsylvania, so he should be able to shoot one much better than I growing up in a city in California. So from a physical standpoint, he should be able to get the job done. But from an intellectual and from an experiential, professional background standpoint, like, he should not be the person that executed on this kind of an activity. It's an embarrassment to the Secret Service that a 20-year-old nobody kid could get a shot off on the president of the United States, and undoubtedly this would embolden others. And what it does is it changes a bit of the psychology of everyone onlooking. And me, I grew up in a ghetto, so I already know. You know what I mean? We say, ain't nobody too live to die. Ain't nobody too live to die. And also, nobody's exempt from contempt. You dig? Nobody's exempt from contempt. And what I mean by that is, I grew up in a place with people who behave like animals. You heard me? You better watch your mouth. You could be a senior citizen, a toddler, you still get smacked in your mouth. And that's why I treat people with respect, because I've seen it happen, And there's a greater awareness now that, the president can be touched. Any one of us can be touched. And so now it's just even more apparent.
Old of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. But why he allegedly wanted to kill former President Trump, still unclear. The FBI now leading an investigation involving the Secret Service, ATF, and state and local law enforcement on the ground in Butler, Pennsylvania. The alleged gunman killing one spectator and gravely injuring two.
See, now this is crazy too, because I often talk about, like, if heaven exists, right? So say it's like jail. And when you go to jail, it's usually cats like, yo, what are you in for? And you're like, oh yeah, I did this or I did that. There's different levels of respect you get based on what you're in for, right? Funny thing is, last time I was in jail, everybody else was in there for something petty because I got locked up on a Friday night. Everybody else is in there for like drunk driving and all this other nonsense. A couple cats in there for domestic violence, just petty stuff, nonsense. And I'm in there for a gun charge. So, people are like, this guy's a savage. You kind of like, yeah. But the point is, there's certain things you don't want to be in jail for. Certain things that it's embarrassing to be in jail for, fill in the blank, right? Like indecent exposure. Like, bro, what was you doing, man? You was in a movie theater beating your meat like Pee Wee Herman. Similarly, in heaven, sure, once you get in there, people are like, yeah, or hell, people are like, yo, what are you in here for? And bro's like, somebody tried to kill Trump, and they're like, but you're not Trump though, so why are you here? He's like, yeah, but I was sitting behind Trump. They killed me. People are like, this motherfucker, man, somebody doesn't like you. Like, they're trying to kill Trump, and you got killed, bro. Like, that's not winning. Like, that's a terrible way to go. It's extremely not heroic and not impressive. Like, you basically caught a bullet that was meant for somebody else. It's terrible. Hey, if you're having a bad day and you think you have bad luck, this guy died for another man for no good reason. That's terrible.
Others.
This evening, we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump.
Now, as for those two other victims, officials really haven't released a lot of information about them, just their condition that they were we weren't mourning.
It's funny how much nobody actually cares about those other individuals who died. Like, let's just be real here. Like, nobody, literally almost nobody except their family really cares. I'm sure they'll at some point start a GoFundMe and people will send a couple bucks and they'll be able to bury those people with some, some dignity, but nobody really cares. And, that's one of the things in the Book of Dark Truths is that, and if you've seen that movie, The Bronx Tale, I remember I hosted a movie night for the Saints in Las Vegas at my suite on the Strip. And we watched A Bronx Tale, which is a fine film. We had a discussion afterward, and there's one meaningful scene in there where Sonny, the main protagonist, he says, nobody cares, which is the truth. Human beings, they often talk like they care, but they don't care. For example, on my video that the interview I did with the woman in South Africa, the one that earns her money laying down, there were a lot of South Africans. I meant Charlie Brown. In terms of that, I meant Charlie Brown. There are a lot of South Africans in the comments saying, oh, this is such a good woman. I pray that she gets help. Let me tell you guys the truth. When someone says, I'm going to pray for you, what they're actually saying is, oh, I'm going to say something nice, but actually do nothing for you. That's what that means in real life. In case you were curious, what does I'm going to pray for you mean? It means, oh, I'm pretending to care, but I don't care enough to do something. That's what that translates to. And so a lot of people in the comments were like, oh, I hope she gets a better situation. She's such an intelligent, sweet woman. I hope things get better for her. I hope the interviewer paid her. So it's like, okay, first off, don't worry about if she got paid because this has nothing to do with you. Number one, the video doesn't run any ads, so it makes $0. Number two, I paid her way more money than she's made in a long time. Believe that. And that came out of my pocket, and that's not being recouped. But more importantly, what you should be thinking as a South African is, why is it that I care so much about this person that shares my own blood, but I haven't done anything? And then you have the nerve to be critical in the comments talking about, I hope he did something for her. Oh, so you hope the random American guy who showed up helped your countrymen who you've walked past on a daily basis, haven't heard her story, haven't cared to help her, and your society is complicit in this. You guys are disgusting. And you want to say all these nice things in the comments, but you don't mean any of it. So what I've been doing is, if I'm able, which I mostly am not, I'll reply to the comments, say, oh yeah, would you like to help her? What do you want to do? Well, you don't want to do anything. You just want to talk words. So I say that to say nobody cares. Always be clear on who cares about you and who doesn't. In my book, The Black Box, you can get it on Amazon. I highly recommend it. I go through an entire life, and through there, I always point out to you, hey, sometimes people are your family, but they're really not. Sometimes people are your friends and they're better than family. Sometimes you expect people to show you love or to support you, but they might not. Know who actually loves you. It's important. See beyond the words people give, because remember, words cost nothing. Everybody has words. They have an infinite number of words. But will they give you something that they don't have an infinite amount of? Will they give you money? Will they give you their time? Will they give you their service?
That's exactly where I heard him come from.
What did you see, sir?
I heard the shots. I thought it was firecrackers to begin with. Somebody over there was screaming, he's been shot, he's been shot. So I made my way over. I said, I'm an emergency department physician.
I'm an emergency department physician. He definitely doesn't seem to be as country as the other bumpkins. Now, does he? He seems to have a different kind of accent.
Let me help you. The guy had spun around, was jammed between the benches. He had a headshot here. There was lots of blood. And
he said, let me help you. So he was very clear that this individual was the killer. This was the killer. And in general, I don't think we think well of killers, but this was the killer of Donald Trump, that he said, let me help you, while wearing a Trump hat. That's strange.
He had brain matter there. Oh, no. And so I got him. There's a helicopter coming in to get him. So I got people there really helpful. I got
Was
him
there only
up
one
on the
person
bench.
shot that you saw?
Then I did CPR, did chest compressions as well as I breathed.
Disgusting. See, they're dimwits listening to this, oh, that's such a good guy. Such a good guy. Sometimes you don't need to be a good man. Sometimes you need to be a great man. That's something I talk specifically about in the Book of Dark Truths, the difference between a good man and a great man. If you have the Book of Dark Truths, I want you to go to that lesson and review it today. The difference between being a good man and being a great man, it's different. I talk about, what it used to be a gentleman and the kind of man you got to be today. Review that today. Review that lesson. Drop the link for the Book of Dark Truths in case people need to learn, because that guy was trying to be a good boy. Good boy. Good boy. You tried to save a killer, you idiot. You tried to. That's like if I see a guy who's been accused of touching children and he's in front of me dying, I'm going to let him die. I'm going to let him die. Not everyone needs to be saved. Okay? That's the problem.
Happened to our country, probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's
Okay, let me just make sure that you guys can actually see what I'm looking at. Okay, very good. I'm going to enlarge this for you.
a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Now, here's the thing. When the guy said that it sounded like firecrackers, I've heard firecrackers. That doesn't sound anything like firecrackers. So why would anyone say that sounds like firecrackers? Now, granted, I own a number of firearms. I've been dealing with firearms since I was a youngster. But these are people, they appear to be in a rural area. Can someone drop in the chat where this was located? They would know the difference between the sound of a firecracker and the sound of a rifle blast. That didn't sound anything like firecrackers to me. Moving slowly off the tongue. And then you have the imbecile chanting, USA, USA. That's just brainless, low IQ chanting. Very good. Thank you, guys. Shout to Sebastian, who comes in by PayPal. He writes, culture is the key. Can I get an amen from the congregation? Indeed, culture is the big issue. Shout to Frank. He writes, tuition in a previous live. I said that I was curious about how far they would go to prevent him from being elected. Far, right? Well, here we are. Now I'm curious to see how long he can last. Hashtag democracy. Yes. Let us see. And the thing about being young is that you don't have memory, right? You don't have memory of Medgar Evers being killed, Malcolm X being killed, Robert F. Kennedy being killed, John F. Kennedy being killed, Martin Luther King being killed, or I say assassinated in all those cases. You don't have memory of that during your lifetime. If you're my grandmother's age or my aunt's age, you have memory of these things. So these are not beyond what is believable. A lot of young people today, just because they've not experienced it, they think that that's beyond what is possible within the political arena, wherein, in very recent history, that has been very common. And that's why it's important that we have our elders around, or we have those who can bless us with history. I find it a strange thing to chant USA, USA, at least at that moment, in as much as, well, what do you really mean when you say USA? Like, you're chanting the name of our country? It's the country where they just tried to kill your leader. Maybe the chant more intelligently should be Trump or something like that. Yeah, I think chanting Trump would make more sense than chanting USA. Sometimes when people chant USA, they're referring to the government. Maybe they're referring to the country or the people, but really the government is not one that's favorable to you right now. And the country is one that's divided. And obviously, at some recent point, was not favoring Trump. Either that or the election was stolen. Carrying on. This is supposedly footage of the sniper who shot the shooter.
You want to really. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
That was less than interesting. This is supposedly the angle that the shooter had on Trump, which, yeah, I mean, seems fairly basic. And then here's your boy Alex Jones, who's a utter cartoon character. Like, people who follow Alex Jones, he brings interesting news topics every now and then, but I can't take him seriously. I just must concede. I just cannot take this guy seriously. He's like a Rush Limbaugh kind of character. It says Butler County. Oh yeah, that's right, in Pennsylvania, right? So he writes, it's country and very Republican. Exactly. They should know what a gunshot sounds like. It's very strange that they thought a gunshot was a firecracker.
Just hours ago in Pennsylvania, an assassin who they're now reporting is dead fired at least 5 shots at President Trump, hitting him once in the side of the head. And then Trump defiantly.
This ball be lying his ass off, don't he? He said hit him once in the side of the head. See, again, this is why I can't deal with these guys, is because, like, bro, you don't have to lie to make it sound more interesting. He didn't get hit in the side of the head. If he got hit in the side of the head with a rifle, with rifle fire, like, bro, he'd be out of here. He didn't get hit in the side of the head. He got grazed on the ear. Okay? Grazed on the ear. Like, bro out here lying his ass off. And this is the problem with these people. And Book of Dark Truths, I talk a lot about lies. Lies, you must understand. Shout out to Florio, comes in by PayPal. He writes, this is a bit off topic, but I achieved a goal late. Should I skip the reward or save it for the next on-time goal? Nah, enjoy the reward, enjoy life, and carry on vigorously to the next goal. Thank you for asking. I acknowledge Gwinsley. He's referring to, you know, how we do our sprints and we do goal setting based on what you would learn in Boston University. If you have goals that you're pursuing, Boston University will help you with that. Gwinsley writes, tuition. Shout out to the basic. Shout out to basic training. Shout out to Mr. Kendall for making that connection right away. Listen, I'm telling you. And I think basic training is linked. I think you can purchase that on the SAS. And if someone can drop the link for that, and we're certainly going to have to ratchet up our basic training, because the key is to be prepared and have your security apparatus ready before it is needed. You'd be a fool to suffer something and then create security. You won't need it. They might get you out of here on that first attack. Shout out to Mr. Mugisha with the baller alert. Writes, tuition, peace to the saints, always coming in a ballerific way. Keegan comes in by PayPal. He writes, when I saw the video, I immediately remembered this quote from Machiavelli. Quote, a wise prince, when he has the opportunity, ought with craft to foster some animosity against himself, so that, having crushed it, his renown may rise higher, end quote. And that is the author, that Robert Greene, the guy who writes like things like the 50 Laws of Power or whatever he writes. He stole everything from that guy. Shout out to Edgar supporting the work. Shout out to my European saints. Came in with tuition. Appreciate you. Carrying on. Oh,
This is incredible history happening in front of our face. This is happening.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to accidentally expose those emails. If someone can let me know if we've seen any sensitive information, apologize.
Right out in the open. But I told Elon Musk months ago, and he agreed and said he should up his security, and Trump should up his security, that the deep state's not playing games. They are going for broke, ladies and gentlemen. And the fact that they attempted to kill Trump, and make no mistake, that's who's behind this, means they are going to go all out. The deep state is now going to try to blow up Trump's airplane, and they're going to try to kill Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson and other leaders. This is a full coup against any loyal American defending our republic in the process of the.
So here's the interesting thing. He used the word coup. Well, a coup can only occur against the existing government. So this is not a coup. This is an abuse of the language coup d'etat. A coup d'etat is when you essentially take over a government by force. You attack a government to usurp authority by force, generally speaking. We or the conservatives, the Republicans, the right, the reasonable people, they are not in power right now. So this is not a coup. That is a lie. So again, he's told a second lie, which is fine. But we need to understand that you want to be figuring out, well, who can I trust in this political jungle? This guy's not very reasonable. Certainly the left is no more reasonable, but now he's lying. Then secondly, He's saying that they'll do anything to take over. They'll be violent. They'll do anything. And then you'll hear him on another stream saying that I want to tell everyone, don't be violent, be peaceful. Okay, that's fine. Except that how could you ever defeat an enemy who's willing to go to greater lengths than you will? You cannot. You can only defeat an enemy if you're willing to go to greater lengths than them, if you're willing to do more than they're willing to do. So if they're willing to be violent and you're not willing to be violent, you lose, full stop. So you can't take this guy seriously. He's just a big mouth character, and a dishonest one at that.
Populist movement taking our country back. So I don't say this as an alarmist. I was on the show just days ago. We'll post it to X. The crew's coming in right now on Saturday night. They're going to pull it up, saying they're going to try to kill Trump imminently. They're going to try to kill Elon Musk imminently. I don't say stuff.
Okay, so that's curious. First off, he wants to be buddies with certain individuals, and you have to pay attention to how people will name drop, or they'll engage with certain individuals' names because they're saying things that that individual, in this case Elon Musk, well, Elon would like to hear himself associated with Trump, associated with power, suggesting that people want to kill him because he's that important and that critical, when in actual fact Elon Musk is not a factor. No one really considers him to be powerful politically. He does not have a legitimate political base of power. When I say power, I'm not talking about a voting block. I'm talking about power, real power, which is to say people that will take life on his behalf. That's real power. There's only one kind of power in this world. Elon does not have that. And furthermore, no one's trying to kill Elon. And lastly, Elon is coward. He didn't even support Trump outright until Trump got shot. And he knew that Trump would become more popular as a result of getting shot. And he wanted to ride that wave. Elon, you're not a rebel. You're scared. You're a scared little boy. Because if you're a rebel, you would have already been rocking with Trump when it was unpopular. Like, for example, when Kanye was rocking with Trump from the beginning, right? Like that was impressive. Like Ye went against his race and hip hop culture and black culture when it was unpopular. Elon waited till it was safe and then tiptoed out. So he's a joke. I agree. Then you got Alex Jones trying to suck up to Elon Musk and say, people want to kill Elon. Nobody wants to kill Elon. Stop it. You're being ridiculous. Lie number 3. This boy ain't even spoke 3 minutes. He already got 3 lies stacked up.
Just to say it. I say it when I see all the evidence and I know it. And notice how the media is pointing out, oh, he survived an assassination, no big deal. They're blocking the news. The incredible footage of him shot in the side of the head, the blood, him saying, fight, fight, fight. This is insane. But thank God Elon has said officially now he fully endorses and supports President Trump. We need unity right now. And I'm not a drama queen, folks. This is a real fight against the globalists. They want to kill him.
This boy be talking about the deep state, then the globalists. It's like, bro, you got to figure it out. And let me tell you where Trump is coming up short at. You see, as I mentioned before, unlike Huey P. Long or Francois Duvalier, Trump hasn't been able to create his own infrastructure. He's using the infrastructure of the Republican Party and the U.S. government. That's going to be problematic. When you're in a situation of revolutionary times, you really kind of got to build your own thing. It's going to be safer, and also it allows you to create more radical change in a society that is deeply in need of radical change. Whatever we may say about that fella who was in power in Germany leading up to the end of World War II, most people don't know the history, and I even hear historians misstate it. I don't know if it's on purpose, but I'll recount a bit of it to you for it's germane here. The individual that we're referring to that has that little mustache, I don't want to say his name because Google is a censorship corporation. People think that he created that party that he was a part of, that famous party that has that symbol that we all know well. He actually did not create that symbol. What you might not know is that he actually wasn't even German. I believe he grew up in a town called Linz, and he immigrated illegally into Germany as a young person, and he joined the German military, and he fought and actually was awarded, I think, an Iron Cross. He used to run messages along the front line, so he actually was quite brave. And once he was coming out of the military, he was hired by the military to infiltrate certain political entities, one of which was called the Nationalsozialistische Deutsches Arbeiterspartei, which is the National Socialist Workers Party. And so he was supposed to go and infiltrate them, learn information, report back to the government because they might possibly be seditious and need to be shut down. So as he was in this party, he actually started to say, these guys, their ideas are not so bad. I actually kind of agree with them, including the anti-Semitism and the German nationalism. And you know what? I think I like it. And his natural gifts of oratory made him one of the front men for this organization. He eventually became the leader, which is comical because previously in his life, he was denied, in the notes that they made on him in the army, it was specifically noted that he lacked skills of leadership. And this is why you have to know that sometimes in life you encounter people who are above you, but they're imbeciles. And so they can't rightly see you. Clearly, he doesn't lack skills of leadership. Anyway, so he took over this party. And what you have to understand about this party that he created, he actually had various security groups within the party, paramilitary. One was the SS, and another one was the SA. And they were essentially like two different paramilitary policing entities. I think one was under Himmler and the other one was under Ernst Röhm, if I recall correctly. It's been a while since I used to write papers on this stuff. And so the point is, when he formally was invited into power, people think he took over power. He did not take over power. He was actually invited into power. He did try to stage a putsch, for which he actually did a little bit of jail time. But once he came out, and he really got a light sentence, the government actually favored him. Once he got out, he was able to be invited into government. And Kaiser von Hindenburg essentially was the guy who invited him in. He was like an ailing, kind of relic of the past, kind of in the old Prussian tradition. And he invited Hitler in. Oh, damn, I said the name. Got me. And eventually, once he came into the government, he basically brought in all of his people from his party. He didn't join a party like Trump joined the Republicans. He didn't switch parties a bunch of times like Winston Churchill. He came in with his own party on something that he pretty much grew up from, something small, so that he was deeply imbued at all levels, such that he's highly favored, highly protected, and it is his party. He's not a part of the party. It's his party. He owns the party. So as a result, he has a tremendous amount of, protection. And even eventually he did basically disband one of the paramilitary sections that he had created. And I think they actually ended up killing the leader. I think it was him, Ernst Röhm or Himmler, but I think it was Röhm that they actually ended up taking his life. They turned up some charges and had his life taken. And he did that to respect the existing German military, which was also falling in line. But I say that to say this. He created a real political movement. It had serious ideology. There are shadowy figures in the background like Karl Haushofer. They also borrowed a lot of ideology from the fascists, which is Benito Mussolini, and the chief philosopher of fascism was Giovanni Gentile. And so they took a lot of these ideas. And in fact, this is a Roman salute. Roman. Where's Rome? Italy. Who are the fascists? The Italians. Benito Mussolini. So they borrowed a lot of things from there. So I say that to say, Trump is like really incomplete as far as, political leaders, political revolutionaries go, but he's definitely in a position where revolution is needed. But a lot of his pedigree and his thinking is largely inadequate and insufficient. And mind you, my knowledge on this particular individual, which it's kind of hard to go through without saying his name, and saying too many terms that'll get this video flagged, but mine is far superior than any of your fake mongrel white nationalists who are all scared to debate me, whom I've invited multiple times. Anyways, carrying on.
Elon Musk, they want to kill Donald Trump, they want to kill Tucker Carlson, they might even kill.
That was crazy. They want to kill Tucker Carlson too. Come on, bro. Like, stop it. Nobody wants to kill Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson has been a part of the establishment media at Fox News. He's a very intelligent guy. He does do phenomenally interesting interviews. I love when he makes that constipated I'm thinking face and I'm like listening intently. Like he does a great job at what he does. I'm very impressed. He certainly has some biases. He's definitely anti-black, which is fine. I get it. I totally understand. You see, like, if I was a white guy like Tucker Carlson, I grew up where he grew up. I have very little experience with blacks. I see them on the news doing all kinds of things, and and I'm a bit of a white supremacist myself. Like I get that. There's no, I totally get that. I'm not shocked. But do people want to kill him? I mean, stop it. That's utter nonsense.
Joe Rogan, because Joe is fully.
Did you say they want to kill Joe Rogan? You got to stop name dropping so you can be associated with people who are more famous than you are. You have to stop. Please stop. Get some help. Yo, Joe Rogan is the most mild, middle of the road individual there is. Has anyone ever heard Joe Rogan take a strong position against anything, really? Like, Joe Rogan is not a controversial figure. That's why he has a deal with Spotify. Let's not be ridiculous here. That's the problem, is that you guys, you drink like coffee with a bunch of sugar and cream. Now, mind you, I've actually never drank coffee, but I'm trying to use this metaphor here. Work with me. I understand that black coffee is the strongest, right? But you guys have a lot of adulterants like cream and sugar in the coffee, and you're acting like, oh, this is strong. Like, no, that's not the black coffee. That's what the sugar and the cream in it. Joe Rogan is not a hard-nosed individual on one side of the political aisle. He is not someone who stands for like very strong principles. He's not an organizer of people. There's no incentive to take the life of a Tucker Carlson or a Joe Rogan. This is goofiness. In fact, they're useful to the powers that be, because you can point to them and say, look, we don't silence our opposition. We let Joe Rogan talk. We let Tucker Carlson say things we don't agree with. We let Elon Musk tweet about us. Yeah, there's our opposition. There they are. We let them exist. All the while, they work on the real opposition. The real opposition are the guys who actually organize people on the ground. Why are people organized on the ground powerful? How many people did it take to try to take out Trump? To try to take his life? It only took one person on the ground, though. You see? Now imagine, that guy's a 20-year-old. 20-year-olds don't have any real thoughts at age 20. You don't know anything. So you have to have someone older, more experienced, more sophisticated to lead them. That's the person that's dangerous, right? So if you have a person like that that's sophisticated and can organize and influence the masses, that's a person that's dangerous. The person who's doing a goddamn podcast and is not organizing anybody, or the guy who's just like a commentator, that's not dangerous at all. So why would you need to kill them? You don't. It's illogical. That's why they're still alive, dummy. That's precisely why Joe Rogan, not only is he still alive, he's filthy rich, and he has a Spotify show, because he's not controversial at all. He's not controversial. He's monetized. So these are all just like silly ideas that this guy is like, he's like just shoveling feces right now. Shoveling feces. As I said, shout out to Edgar. I appreciate the support. Came in with the Euros. May I also acknowledge Modded Inc. writes, Mr. Marquette, would you be interested in doing a collaboration regarding my findings regarding the psychology behind? No, sir. No, sir. But I appreciate that. He writes, I wrote a book explaining the behavior in a way never stated before. No, I try to stay away from that topic, but I thank you very much for the opportunity, and I thank you for the support. May I acknowledge Monthusi came in with the quadruple baller alert. Shout out to the ballers. He writes, for the unique take, right? The truth is often unique, isn't it? It's unique, it's rare, all of that. Back to this liar.
Awake now. They can't have these incredibly populist voices out telling the truth, and I'm in danger too. But I'm down the list a long way. So America is in maximum.
When he says he's down the list a long way of people that the government would take out, the reason that you're down the list is because no one's trying to take you out because you're ineffective, and you don't want to be effective. You don't want to be a political revolutionary, because then your life would be at risk. You want to make money like talking about fake conspiracy theories, which is what you're doing. And that's fine. That's fine.
Danger right now. We do not need anybody to go out and be violent to respond to this. And I know you're smart, you wouldn't do that, but the globalists, the next move so obvious, are going to stage false flags now, as I've been warning you, with 12 days of the election, and blame it on Trump supporters. Now that's about to happen. How many times have I said on the show the last few months? When they try to kill Trump, then they stage the attacks. Then they come after Musk and Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and Alex Jones, everybody else.
Bro, stop it. And this is the amazing thing. People wanting to be more relevant than they are. And like knowing damn well, bro, you are safe as hell, man. Like, how long you been doing this? You've been doing this for what, like 15 years, and you're still alive. You've been saying your fake conspiracy theories for 15 years. No, not a hair on your head has been harmed. You haven't been to jail one time. Come on, bro, knock it off.
So now we're in maximum danger. I'm in Northern California, working on a huge story that breaks tomorrow. I'll leave it at that.
Huge.
But I'll be doing a live show tonight, Infowars.com/show and band.video. We'll be breaking it all down. Follow me at Real Lock Show, Sarah on X. But this is a serious time for America and the world. The deep.
Yeah, okay, bro. The deep state, the Matrix, the deep state. They're gonna kill Rogan, me, and Elon. I got you, buddy. Thanks a lot, man. Take care. Anyways, this is a note supposedly that went out to all of the media outlets on the Trump rally story. It's actually quite funny. And it seems so real too. Quote, hello. Reminder to stick to the facts. Don't speculate, editorialize, sensationalize, or jump to conclusions when reporting on the Trump rally incident today. Notice they call it an incident to minimize. Don't call it assassination attempt unless authorities say it is. So they're doing double speak right now. They're equivocating. They're trying to say, don't use the term assassination because it actually accords some drama that would help him and some legitimacy. And when you say someone's been assassinated, that means there's somebody. You know, when black people get killed, nigga just got murdered. You hear me? He got shot. When you're somebody, you get assassinated. So they're saying, don't use that word. It's too favorable. Don't say a shooting targeting Trump or the rally unless authorities confirm that connection. They're basically saying, like, report it, but don't give it much credit. Clarify if it's actually gunshots. That's unclear at the moment. If authorities don't know, then it's okay to say that. They'd love to say that it's firecrackers, right? You heard that mentioned before, right? I didn't know if it was firecrackers. What are you, an imbecile? There's no way you live in the country or the South or the rural area or you're at a Republican convention and you don't know what rifle fire sounds like. Come on, bro. Stop it. Anchors. Reminder to be mindful of body language when presenting the story. Now, mind you, they're talking to professionals who do this every single day. Why do they have to give them reminders on how to comport themselves when giving this story, doing something that is within their wheelhouse? Well, the reason that they have to tell the reporters how to report all of a sudden is because they want to make sure that they don't stir up any emotions in the viewers, because they need you to not have the emotions that will take you to do something in this world. They want you to sit down and play your video games and watch your xvideo.com and all this stuff, right? He writes, reminder to be mindful of your body language when presenting the story. No need for serious face or adding comments and adjectives for color. They're basically saying, try to report this in the most boring way possible so we can just get past it. No need to say, quote, scary moments today at Trump rally, end quote. Just get to the story. At this moment, no need for guests to comment. Dang, they really want to make this short, right? Short and minimize it. Again, this is just a reminder. I know we all know. Boy, talk about trying to control the narrative. If that's not controlling the narrative, I don't know what is. And you know what? I want to let you guys all know when we're pushing our ends, we should be trying to control the narrative too, because our enemies are. And let me tell you, some of you guys are brainless out there. Don't say you're one of us unless you're one of us, huh? This is what I mean. Wait, hold on one sec. Okay. Anyways, so I've seen people in the comments making statement. I'm not getting into it. Let's go on to the next one. Let's see. May I acknowledge Constantine comes in via Venmo. He writes, paying my share. Appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. I also acknowledge Juan. He writes, tuition, comment in email. Okay, let's see what Juan has for us. He writes, peace to the saints. It's crazy how they allowed Trump to stand there and put his fist up after he just got done getting shot. Some people are now saying that this guarantees Trump the presidency. You know what? I think that he probably won last time. Maybe he didn't. I think he probably won. I wouldn't be surprised if people got apathetic or lazy or just assumed it was a shoe-in and didn't go vote. But certainly, I think he had more supporters the last go. But you're right. This go, people are going to go out to that poll and they're going to vote. And the reason is because of the economy is in shambles and people can feel it. They don't need to guess. They don't need an economist on the television telling them. They can tell when they go to buy eggs and milk and all of the critical items of sustaining life. And yes, you're right. This bit of drama makes it seem as though there's all the more reason to support him because the forces of evil are working against him, trying to take his life. So you're right. This will definitely radicalize some persons who otherwise would have sat on their butts, or some persons who were very cowardly, like Elon Musk, and wouldn't even speak out in favor of Trump until he almost got taken out. And let me remind you guys of this, and this is human nature. And some of us who are wise, I live every day like it's my last day. I live every day like it's Christmas. Every day I do exactly what I want to do when I want to do it. I got a good life. I'm very thankful. But most people are living like they're going to live forever, like they have endless tomorrows. And what this assassination attempt taught all of us is that life is precious. It gave you that reminder. Life is precious. He could be here today, won't be here tomorrow. And in some cases, he is the great white hope for many people, and they will not let their hope be snuffed out that easily. So yes, they will be radicalized. They will be even more doggedly in support of him. And so this will be to his favor, no doubt. I agree. Here's another thing I want to address. The way people thoughtlessly go on a witch hunt. If something goes wrong, then they think that they have to blame someone. Nothing can go wrong without having someone to blame. See, now they're talking about, these two officers need to be investigated. Yeah, the situation needs to be investigated. Like, why was there a failing? That needs to be investigated. The strategy, the policies, the expectations, the training, that needs to be investigated. Did these individuals try to give an opportunity for him to be taken out? Probably not. Probably not. We don't need to find a witch. For every fire doesn't mean that there was an arsonist. And that's the inclination of human beings who are unwise, who are immature, and degrade into mob mentality when they don't have real values. And that's why we must have character education. It's important to learn arithmetic and English and professional skills, but character education should be a core part of how we bring our children up. And you descend into irrationality, like, someone almost killed like my hope. I got to go find someone to pay for this. Well, the guy who tried to shoot him is dead. So that's mostly good enough. We don't need to investigate the individual Secret Service agents. We need to investigate, well, why was there a gap in the strategy? And I really want to point that out to you guys, because what it's showing is that people are losing their mind, and it's that kind of mass hysteria. That is what leads into civil war, but not intelligent civil war, but rather social unrest. You see, it leads to social unrest and uprisings that are not organized or intelligent. And historically, revolution is not a neat affair. When you look at the French Revolution, there are many persons, mostly crowned heads, getting their heads chopped off in aristocracy. You look at the situation in China with the Red Revolution. You see a lot of violence going on, but it's not educated violence. And even in with the death of the Tsar and Tsarina in Russia, circa 1917, when that was giving way to the Soviets who took over. And that was not the Soviet, as you understand, the Soviet Union. Vladimir Ilyich Prokhanov Lenin was actually, I believe at the time, exiled in Germany, and then he had to rush back to Russia. And I think the Germans actually sent him on a sealed train because the Germans were the enemies of the Russians, and they wanted to send a destructive element into a Russia that was already, kind of broken apart and suffering turmoil. When Lenin got back, he basically took over the revolution. And thank God, because Lenin was an intellectual, certainly a communist, which I don't agree with communism. But the Soviets, these were not the guys that you really need running the country. What people forget is that the core revolutionaries that actually provide the, shall we say, the soldiers on the ground. These are the doers who conduct the violence, but these are not the ones who should be the rulers. They might be the doers who do the violence, but they're not the rulers. And what happens when you have uneducated violence, you basically have instability in the land. And when people are talking about civil war, well, if civil war did pop off, the left would be in a great advantage because they have Antifa. They've been organizing violence and, kind of guerrilla activities for a long time now, and they've been well funded. Shout out to Soros. So the fact is, they'd be favored in this. There are very few on the right who have really organized around this kind of a scenario, and I think that we haven't considered that enough. Carrying on, may I acknowledge Marcus came in via Venmo supporting the work. I also acknowledge Mr. Mirage writes, thank you, Marquette. Peace of the Saints. Indeed, peace of the Saints. He's always supporting the work. Shout out to Caleb. He writes, tuition, only news source I trust. Peace of the Saints. Listen, man, it is getting ugly out here, isn't it? Shout out to Eric. He writes, what exactly are the differences between a republic and a democracy? Peace of the Saints. Democracy is generally viewed as something based on plebiscite, where it's more direct representation. We represent ourselves. There are popular votes. A republic is typically where you have an agent representing you. You have a politician or political leader that operates on your interests. Shout out to Johnny via Venmo. He writes, peace of saints. A prophet predicted the event 3 months ago. Okay, yeah, I saw that. Shout out to Carter. He writes, peace to the saints. Indeed, peace to the saints. I may acknowledge Miguel. He writes, supporting the work. Appreciate you. Came in by PayPal. Shout out to Rosh. He writes, tuition. Thank you very much, Rosh. Okay, looks like we're caught up there. And I thank you to each and every one of you who supported the work. And may I catch up on the folks who are supporting via Super Chat. Shout out to Hef supporting the work. May I also acknowledge Leon. Shout out to Zaya. I acknowledge Darylyn. Shout out to the Lady Saints always supporting. And she's the number one among them. Shout out to Razor. May I acknowledge David. He writes, tuition on this most important topic. Very interested to get your views on this issue. Peace of the Saints. I acknowledge Ace Flex supporting. Shout out. Okay, he writes, the blue-haired booty bandit is on X saying outrageous stuff about Trump. I'm not surprised. Also, women should not be Secret Service agents. I know, side note. Shout out to Nicaragua Saint. He writes, I'm sorry, I want to stay consistent. Shout out to Mr. Simon supporting the work. I acknowledge Stop Playing Trey. He writes, Boss University, everyone is cheating and lying, end quote. Says a lot about the situation. It is for real though, but don't give out too many gems for Boss University. You hear me? People pay for that secret knowledge. You hear me? And people who don't care about themselves, they won't invest in themselves. You hear me? So don't invest in them. You hear me? Let them wander in darkness. You dig? Let them wander in darkness if they don't want to invest in themselves. Drop the link for Boss University for the people who want to boss up and live a great life. And one thing you'll figure out when you get money, you spend money as a mature person, you never really regret it because it's just you giving out green pieces of paper. You never really regret it. Shout out to Michael's life cycle. And remember that there's nothing wrong with investing in yourself. That's a good dollar spent. He writes, was just detained and groped by the police an hour ago. It's sick and sad, right? But they let everybody through that southern border, don't they? He writes, I was holding up my phone and taking a video of myself near the beach. Say word, it's illegal now. Someone called them and said they thought I had a clap. Oh, man, this is not a free country, fellas. Peace of saints. Right. You ain't lying. Just a mere accusation. And we try to act as though, the Russians have the Stasi, or excuse me, that was the East Germans have the Stasi and the Gestapo in Germany, and the Russians have the KGB, as though we don't have a huge security apparatus where people are constantly snitching and trumping up things. Give me a break. Shout out to Daryl. He writes, peace of saints watching from Frankfurt. I just went through the TSA situation you spoke about this morning. I'm telling you, man. Shout out to Focus supporting the work. I appreciate you. Writes, I'm a woman. I want to thank you for the wisdom you imparted to a young lady. I forget the platform, in her choice of career, being OF and disappointing herself and her parents. Much respect. I appreciate that. I just want to read that because that's one of the ladies. Shout out to T God supporting. May also acknowledge One Digital's on writes, peace to the saints, formerly known as Joe Lakuta. Okay, that makes sense. He's always supporting. Shout out to the real one. Shout out to Pug Dad. He writes, it's your favorite valet's favorite valet. Just purchase some merch from your site. Knowing the closest structure to the podium wasn't secure was not a coincidence or mistake. I agree. He writes, it was premeditated. Peace to the Saints in a real way. And I appreciate you supporting. For those of you who would like to support, you can get some drip at sasnbrand.com. Log in, boss up. This hat is at mdblabel.com. And this shirt will make sure that this one is available for you within 10 hours of this stream. Shout out to Will. He writes, just a publicity. Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to read that one. Shout out to, because we're reading 15 and above. May I acknowledge Evan GD, and may I also acknowledge Daddy and a Caddy. Appreciate you. I hear you. You know what? I don't like this, the Streamlabs user experience. I actually did have Streamlabs. I purchased Streamlabs. I just did not like the user experience on a consistent basis. May I acknowledge Ivan, who comes in via PayPal. He writes, Democrat. Oh, and by the way, if you have something that's being censored, you can actually just send your money via Venmo or PayPal using the information below, and then just follow it up with an email, and I can just speak on it. Anyways, carrying on. Shout out to Ivan. He writes, Democrat or Republican, black or white, at the end of the day, it's Sassin before everything. You ain't never lied. Let's not forget to identify as a saint first. Hope life has been prosperous and abundant for all the saints out there indeed. Shout out to my saints in Georgia. You dig? I see a lot of the saints have been linking up in our private Discord for the members. I see a lot of guys catching up. I see Marcos, looks like he's been moving around as well. I love to see it. I think I saw Irvin as well had linked up with one of the sections in a different part of the country. Love to see it. Absolutely. Okay, so I had one shout out to Quad. He's working on a technology. He's considering working on a technology right now, and he did a poll. And so I'm going to read his question right now. He writes, You're interested in a specific career but feel lost. You find a website offering consultations with experienced professionals who provide insights at their chosen rate in 30-minute increments. Would you invest in such a consultation for guidance on your career path? So in other words, he's looking at building a platform where if you want to be an electrician or a dentist or fill in the blank, you can talk to one of these persons for 30 minutes, whatever rate they set, you can make a purchase and talk to them for 30 minutes. He's saying, would you use such a thing? So if you would use such a thing, you can write, yes, I would use it in the chat. If you would not, you can write, no, I would not use it in the chat. So there you go. And he does consultations with me. So I wanted to honor him and, give him a little bit of data. So if you guys would help him in his business and just give your sincere perspective, you heard me? He'll be like, hell nah, bro. Or yeah, man, I will mess with that. That'll help him in his business. And we want to see all of our people successful. And the reason we want to see all of our people successful is because who doesn't want more wealthy friends? You dig? Ladies and saints, I'll give you some time to send in your last questions, comments, as we go ahead and wind down. And by the way, I want to just let you guys know that, again, I want to recommend against credit cards in general of any kind. There are other ways to build your credit. And also, more important than building your credit is building your income. And I get offered credit cards all the time. I'm like, right now, I'm just unsubscribing from I don't know how they got my email address, but they're offering me credit cards because it is to your detriment. I promise you. May I acknowledge via PayPal. Shout out to Mr. Chapman. He writes, Sassin or nothing. This felt like a call to action for me. I'm telling you, we all got to stay militant out here. I also acknowledge Khalil. He writes, you wild for cutting those suit pants into shorts. One of my favorite suits I've seen you wear. Looking forward to getting one similar on the next drip trip. Peace of the Saints. By the way, I will be announcing the drip trip soon. We're going to increase the price so that we can stop people from coming. You heard me? We want the elite among us to be there. So we're going to increase the price. And also, it is a limited number of people that we can accommodate because as you guys probably know, we're taking like 30 guys into tailors and guys are getting 3 suits, 5 suits, 6 suits made. So last time we were there, true story, we made over 200 suits within the space of 4 days. They made 200 suits. Okay. So we cannot have a bunch of people. So we're going to limit it by using price as the instrument for that. We'll be announcing the date soon. You can make your purchase to get your reserve your spot to come. It's going to be awesome. I know a lot of the guys who already went, we're going to give them first dibs because I'm all about tradition and relationships. We'll give them first dibs. Unfortunately, that might sell it out 100%. If it doesn't, you'll get a chance to make that purchase. And when you see me in all of my suits are custom handmade. Every last one of them. I don't wear off the rack. I'm not like these other balls. I don't wear off the rack. It's uncivilized. So if you want to get some real drip, you know, you're gonna get that opportunity. Also, you see me in some other pieces that I also had whipped up. You know, also all my shoes, my dress shoes, you see, those are hand custom made, handmade. I designed them myself. Those are not bought from a store. You'll be able to get shoes handmade on the Drip Trip as well. Cat's even got some cowboy boots. Shout out to Aaron. Has some actual like real cowboy boots made. You dig? Has some like snakeskin cowboy boots this high made. It was going crazy out there. Real playerism. Okay, let me acknowledge. Shout out to Dano, who just went to mdblabel.com. He actually got the black flag MDB label, but he got it in the khaki and he also got it in the white. I got it in the white myself. He also got the men's athletic shoes, which are phenomenal ones that I have as well. I always take those with me, go on my runs. May I also acknowledge Clay. It looks like he just got Boss University. Shout out to the real ones who invest in themselves. I also acknowledge Walton. He just went and got he got this in black. We actually discontinued this in white. So he got the hardcover bound notebook, which is this one right here. Actually, I was holding it upside down. I like this one for a number of reasons. Chiefly, you know, it has this pocket here, and I tend to like have a bunch of like, sometimes I'll write on random pieces of paper. So I like having a little spot to store them. I like this to kind of pick up where I left off, and I like this so it doesn't open up when it's in my backpack briefcase. So it's a nice little hardcover. And it's now only available in black on brand colors. So he got that. He also got the men's canvas shoes, which I actually have as well. They're like kind of like that Assassin red, which is like a bright reddish orange or orangish red, however you like, on the toe, and then all white. So he got those at sasnbrand.com. Shout out to Walton. I think Walton or Mitchell, one of them is the Drip King. One of them is the Drip King. I'm trying to compete with them low key. Okay, folks, I think we are caught up. Shout out to Clay. He just got the ebook, the black box on ebook. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. You can get a low-cost copy by getting the black box on thesassin.com. That's THESASN.com. If you like a book in your hand, you can get it on Amazon through Prime. So just type in the black box, Marquette Burton on Amazon Prime, and you can get the copy in 1 to 2 days. We are caught up there. Ladies and saints, it has been a pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you all. Until next time, peace of the saints.